The term women's suffrage does not mean much to women today because most of us have been able to exercise our right to vote freely. Well, this woman, Susan B. Anthony, fought for the women after her to be able to vote without repercussions. I have done some research about her life and her cause. Susan B. Anthony's works as a feminist and abolitionist made it possible for the 19th Amendment to be passed in 1920, giving women the right to vote. Today I will be discussing with you what women's suffrage is, the background of Susan B. Anthony, and the fact that she accomplished many things in her life. Let me begin by saying, what is women's suffrage? According to the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, women's suffrage is the right of women by law to vote in national and local elections. Back in the 1800s, the Constitution did not say in words that women and blacks couldn't vote, but it was assumed by society back then that neither group of people had the right to vote. Now that I have talked to you about women's suffrage, I will tell you about the woman, one of the women, who fought for the right of women to vote in the United States. Let me give you a background on Susan B. Anthony. She was born on February 15, 1820, in Adams, Massachusetts. According to biography.com, Susan B. Anthony grew up in a Quaker home where she was taught at an early age that men and women were created equal. It wasn't common for women to have the same education as men back then, but Susan B. Anthony was sent by her father to a private Quaker boarding school because he felt that she and her sisters should have the same opportunity for an education as her brothers did. Her family also worked in the prohibition of alcohol and were participants in the anti-slavery movement. Now I would like to share with you a few of Miss Anthony's big moments in history. Susan B. Anthony had accomplished many things in her life. With her friend Elizabeth Cady Stanton, they founded the National Women's Suffrage Association in 1869. These two women worked for women's suffrage for over 50 years together. According to an article in the Lakewood Public Library, Ms. Anthony was the first person to be arrested, tried, and fined for voting on November 11, 1872. She was unable to speak in her own defense at her trial, and they gave her a fine of $100, but she refused to pay it. After her arrest, she gave this powerful speech, which I have here, if you'd like to look at it, in which she proclaimed that she was a citizen in the United States, and for that reason, she should be allowed to vote. It is said that she led the longest and only nonviolent revolution in our nation's history, which was the struggle to win women's suffrage. It lasted 72 years. Susan B. Anthony never got to see the women exercise the right to vote, but because of her and other women's efforts, the 19th Amendment, which gives the women a right to vote, was passed in 1920, which was about 14 years after she died. In closing, women's suffrage is the right for women to vote. Susan B. Anthony was an educated Quaker woman who felt that all people, especially women and blacks, were created equal. Susan B. Anthony accomplished so many things in her life. Her works as a feminist and as abolitionist made it possible for the 19th Amendment to be passed in 1920, giving women the right to vote. I will close with a quote taken from Miss Anthony's speech. And she says, the only question left to be settled now is, are women persons? Of course we are.